Coach Mark Molina. And I want to focus on that because, Coach, as you know, there has been this obsession with the World Cup in maybe the last decade. But prior to that, when we were not qualifying for that or we were not competing for that, the goal really was to get back to supremacy in Asia. And I think that's what sometimes gets lost in this, especially for the younger crowd, I suppose. Jago, and please chime in on this, that we might have forgotten that that was the initial goal. We have to be the best in Asia first, and we're back there.
You're correct. Things in FIBA changed because of FIBA Asia, because of World Cup qualifying. Asian Games does not do anything in terms of qualifying to the Olympics or the World Cup. So you're right. The focus of maybe winning Asian Games gold was lost maybe the last decade or so.
This decade,
but I remember in 1990 when we fielded for the first time an all PBA team.
Correct.
Coached by Jaworski, by Robert Jaworski. It was such a big deal.
Huge.
And I was in high school back then. We all watched, me and my classmates, we went to a restaurant nearby our school to watch the championship game against China. So it was really a big deal back then to win the Asian Games. Not that it lost a bit of luster the past few years, but you're right. There was a focus on making it to the World Cup and to the Olympics. But to be champions in Asia, that should always be the goal of Gilas Pilipinas to be the best in Asia.
Kaya masarap yung feeling sa
Masarap
katulad
talaga.
natin. Ano?
Yes.
I don't, Jago, with you, what's your perception on this?
Well, for me, 1990, I wasn't there yet at all. So, you know, when the Gilas team that I would watch when I was a kid was, you know, the first Gilas when it was, you know, J.F. Casio, Marcio Lassiter was part of the team. But, you know, even that time, making it to the top of the Asian Games was also still the goal.
Okay.
So I would still remember, you know, them trying to fight it out with all the Asian teams here and try to win the gold medal as well. But then you're right. I super agree with you, Boom, when it comes to, you know, the fascination about getting into the World Cup, winning games there as well. So
at least now we got this. Okay, let's get technical first. How did we do it? And what were the keys, Coach Mark? Because sabi ni Coach Tim, parang they played the best game for the last. In contrast to everything that we went through, parang, and I'm loosely using this word, it looked easy actually compared to the other games.
The thing is, we did different things for the 3 games. There were 3 tough games. Iran, China, and Jordan. Let's start with the championship game, which seemingly parang yun ang easiest because we controlled it. It was all defense in that game. I firmly believe that a team like Gilas, because of number one, the caliber of Tim Cone and the players that we have, PBA players play a lot of series, best of 7 all the time. So I think it happened in the SEA Games against Cambodia. We lost to them and then we got back in the finals. It happened again. We lost to Jordan. We got back in the finals because PBA players are trained to adjust when they play the opponent a second time.
Sanay sa ribanse.
Because they do it. Sanay sa ribanse because they do it time and time again in the PBA. And then not just the players. Coach Tim Cone, I remember Coach also in the cellar telling me before that in a 7-game series, it's going to be difficult to beat Coach Tim Cone because of the adjustments that he makes. And of course, this is not 7 games. But the scouting that he does, yung element ng scouting, kasi natalo tayo eh. Paano natin babalikan ito? That is really the forte of Tim.
And he was confident, diba, Jago?
Exactly.
Sabi niya, if he had another chance, he felt like he could do it.
And to add to that, perfect. He said scouting. Coach Mark said scouting. Chris Newsom just visited us in practice earlier, and he told me, you know, they were really locked in when it comes to preparing for that Jordan game. After that Jordan loss, they were, you know, asking for videos, asking for the game plan for the next one because they kind of knew that they were going to be going up against them as the tournament progresses.
Speaking of Newsom, he's on your screens. How about the defense that he played? Since we gotta obviously talk about some of these players. He played such incredible defense on a much taller RHJ, di ba? He bodied up on him. Parang yun nga eh. Tama ka eh. Parang napag-aralan ng gusto, ano?
Well, 2 things stood out there on the defensive end. Number 1, Newsom, because we cannot afford to put Brownley on RHJ because he's gonna be spent in the offensive end. So we needed somebody to play against RHJ 1-1 pretty much without helping a lot, without trying to double a lot. And Chris Newsom, he was fantastic. He was able to do it. He's what 6'1", 6'2",
Yeah.
Chris?
Yeah, exactly.
And he gave up like 4 inches on RHJ, so he was terrific there. And then I have to mention the defense of Kwame as well on Alduairi.
Right.
And as a whole, the pick and roll defense of the Philippines just goes 10 times higher when Ange Kwame is on the floor.
That's a great point. Jago, as a player, I want to ask you this. The games that we played prior to that,
Right.
contrast din yun. Isang escape act at isang habol na
Muntik na.
what a torrid run. Ha? And then we won. How, does that play into that championship game
I think,
for you,
you know,
in your opinion?
that also, you know, something comes into play. And I think that's the chemistry. You know, knowing that they collectively experience these kinds of games, these close games up till the end, and then, you know, winning it, and then going on, planning it for the next one. I think, you know, all of the games before, I think it was Destiny leading into the finals where, you know, they all had the confidence already now, okay, we can win games here, we know how to win, we have that collective experience already, and that's what happened in the finals. It really showed with how they play, with the defense that they played, the
Right.
offense that they played.
So there's defense, there's collective mindset, there was momentum, and then there's Justin Brownlee. Last thought before we take a break. Coach Mark, how lucky are we to have JB?
In the China game, we were like halftime of the China game. I was doing the game with Seb
Yes,
in the
you were,
studio,
yes.
and we were like, oh, this. We were all demoralized already. But I was telling the guys in the studio, if this becomes a close game, if there is a chance for Justin to win this game in the end game, he's going to do just that. Of course, I couldn't envision two
That
miraculous
Yeah.
three-pointers.
Five
that he
triples
did. I mean,
and
something
yeah,
like that.
in the fourth, yeah.
But Justin Brownlee will always have something to say in clutch moments. He's done it time and time again. Plus the fact that you put in that this is a very young China team without a real go-to scorer.
Right.
So they would really suffer because when we came close, and last 2 minutes, really, it was Justin Brownlee time.
Oh, and we came close and then lost it again, lost the lead
Yes.
again, di ba? Twice eh. So talagang, I'm with you with that, you know, demoralized feeling. But just when you think it was slipping away, JB saves the day. Ooh,